guys, and welcome back to Sunday School, and we are in Corinth. So last week you were learning about Corinth as the place, and this week we're going to be delving in to learn about the plants and what representations they have there. So on these columns you can see these lovely leaves. Now these leaves are important, and they're going to have key ideas for us today as we talk about the plants that existed in Corinth. Now, where do we read about this in the Bible? If we go into Acts, that's in the New Testament, we read in chapter 18 about Paul, who was a missionary, making his way from Athens to Corinth. Now, he was going there to spread the gospel and to tell people about Jesus and the good news. So I'll give you a little summary of what is going to happen. What I want you to do later on, though, you're going to read it for yourself. He meets Aquila and Priscilla, and he also does a lot of teaching in the Bible, in the synagogue, to not the Jews, but to the Gentiles. And the reason why he didn't do the Jews, because they, at this moment in time, they rejected the gospel and they rejected what he had to say. So he was talking to the Gentiles. And we also hear about how he spent a long time there. He spent 1 year and 6 months. That's a long time spreading the gospel in Corinth. And I'm going to go further into later on as to why he was there and what significance that has for him at that time and for us now. We also hear about Corinth in Corinthians. There were 2 books, and Paul wrote those letters to the church. That was the Corinthian church. And in those 2 letters that he wrote, the first letter, he was a bit concerned for them, because as a church they were behaving in a way that wasn't, what should we say? We're going to go for the word acceptable for Christians, because they had taken on the ways of the people that surrounded them in Corinth. And in the second letter, it was better news because they had repented, which was absolutely fantastic. So, as we move on, so why Corinth and what is so important about it? So, 3 things. Did you know? Did you know there's a plant there, and it's called bare beeches? And these leaves are inspired by the ancient Greek sculpture Callimachus to model the capital, the Corinth column. So at the beginning, I showed you a column, and I said, remember that. Now that leaf is what was on the column. And in Corinth at the time, it was a big city, and it was very busy. Lots of ships were in there, and they were trading. And this leaf was on the column. So could you imagine arriving in Corinth, seeing these huge columns, and this is what it was decorated with. And they were quite proud of it. They were proud of this. Now I'm going to give you a little nugget of information, and I'm going to refer back to it later on. But what these leaves actually represented was sin and punishment and judgment. And that's not a good thing. And we're going to look at later why that is relevant to the book, to Corinth. Also, olive trees are the most characteristic trees of Greece. What do I mean by that? I mean, they're the most well-known kind of tree that is in Greece. Now, they were seen all over the country. And olive oil is one of the most traditional products in Greece. Now, that is also very important, and I'm going to come on to that next. Why am I talking about olive oil? You probably have it in your kitchen cupboard. But why is that key, and why do we need to know that? And I hope you're still with me, because the third point I want you to know, did you know, is, now this word here, I promise you, I had to go into Google, and I had to search up how to say it. So you're going to bear with me, and then you're going to repeat it so you can say it the correct way. It's pronounced Pinus helpensis. Pinus helpensis. Say it, please. Pinus helpensis. So, commonly known as the Apello pine. And in its native area, this plant is widely used for its fine timber. So we're going to go with the word Apelopine, because I like the pronunciation of that bit better. But it's good to know the original meaning of the word. Now, this is a picture of the Apelopine. And Corinth was, so earlier I was saying, and see if you can cast your mind back, I was saying that Corinth was a marketplace. It was island, and in between, on either side of the island, we have water. And in those days, they didn't knit down to the market like how we would, but they traded they used boats. So the waterways and the boats, what they traded. Now, where their boats dock in, they're called ports. So there was a very busy area that has lots of ports and lots of boats. So can you imagine, then we're going to use our imagination a bit. We've got a busy place, we've got boats, a bit of hustle and bustle going on. It's a really busy place. Now this is key because people from all over were coming here, traders, we had sailors, we had people that wanted to sell things and also buy things were coming to Corinth as a central place for this trading. Now, what do we get in markets and what do we see in markets? We see plants, we see materials, we see textiles. And I said that the Apelopine was used for its fine wood. Now, what can we make out of wood? So let's stop and think about all the things that are used for wood. And I'll give you maybe like 5 seconds to have a think. So, what do we use for wood? We use tables, chairs, fine. And when I say fine wood, I'm not just talking about, you know, a little old table from IKEA. I'm talking about, you know, the best kind. So we've got great furniture being made by these trees. So if we have wood and we have materials that are considered to be valuable and quite expensive and luxurious, they're going to come from a place that's going to create wealth in a town. That's going to create people to want to talk about and want to come here because they know that they can source some of the finest things in a particular place. And that was the place also in Corinth. That was what Corinth was known for. As well as their successes for their fruits and veg, olives, peaches, figs, trees, and all the plethora of fruit and veg. So, as we continue to go on, I want to think about what God is trying to tell us through this story. So we've got a big, I've given you lots of information about Corinth and what it was about and what it was like. But I think that you might be thinking a bit, okay, but what does this have to do with God? And what does it have to do with the Bible? And when I was looking into it, I was thinking the exact same thing. But everything that's in the Bible is there for a reason. And so what is God trying to tell us through this? So Corinth was well known, as we said, for its trade. It was a city that had lots of people going through it, in and out of it. It was well known also. It was a place that counted as value. We had humongous columns that we saw earlier, decorated by the most greatest architectures and builders and craftsmen. And they were proud of it. They were proud of Corinth and what was happening. But Paul was there. And why was Paul there? Now, he was there as a missionary to deliver the good news. But why Corinth? So if you think about a place that has lots of trade, it's going to bring in lots of people. Lots of people from all over the world means there's going to be lots of people who haven't heard the gospel before. And this is where Paul is used. And this is where Paul is being used greatly by God, because he's gone into a place where God wasn't well known by them. They didn't have the good news. And actually in the time, they worshipped Greek gods and goddesses, like Athens, for instance. And so Paul was here coming with the good news and spreading it to them, and so that everyone could come to know God and everyone know about the gospel. So Paul actually, when he was in Corinth, I said earlier that he was telling the gospel to first the Jews, and they rejected it. They didn't want to hear. But he also told the gospel to the Gentiles as well. And they did receive it there. But Paul wasn't there for 2 months and then just hopped off and went somewhere else. No, he was there for 1 year and 6 months. And that is a long time. And that means he had a lot of work to do there. Paul was spreading the gospel to the Jews and to the Gentiles. Now, what can we learn from this? So, Paul was in a foreign country. He didn't come from Corinth. He was moving around as a missionary. So our environments can provide us with an opportunity to show God's love to different types of people. And this is exactly what Paul was doing in Corinth. It was such a great opportunity for him because there were people not just from Corinth there, where he stayed, but also he had the opportunity to meet lots of other traders, to meet sailors from all over the world who were coming to Corinth, which is what we said earlier, was a central place of business. I'm going to give you a big word. I want to say commerce, of trading. And so the same way that Paul was used there, we can learn that we don't just have to be in our comfortable surroundings and our comfortable places, but also we can be used in any type of environment where God has sent us and where we are with God. Now, despite Corinth's splendor, so they had tall columns, they sold fine tables and chairs and wood, they had fruits, they had olive oil, which is such a high commodity. I'm giving you great words here, commodity. Go look it up and tell me if you can know what it means on your homework sheet. They were still didn't know Jesus. And no matter, we can live in palaces, we can have the most expensive things. If we don't have Jesus, it's all pointless, it's all fleeting, and we don't need it all. We need Jesus at the forefront of it. So although Corinth was a place that people loved to flock to, they were actually not in a good place spiritually because they didn't know Jesus. And we need Jesus here, no matter what our surroundings look like. And what else can we learn from this? Being surrounded by beautiful things does not replace our personal relationship with Christ. And Paul could attest to this to the people in Corinth, that they lived a lavish life, but what was actually happening for them with their souls, it can't replace that. And as I said earlier, those bare beech leaves, they represented sin. So they were surrounded, they had built their city upon sin because they didn't have Jesus. Now, that was a lot to take in, and I hope you really enjoyed that, and I have some homework for you this week. So, what would I like you to do? I would like you to find 2 more facts about any of the plants I mentioned. So you can look at the Apello pines or the bare beeches tree and find some more facts about those. And I would like you to find pictures of the leaves of each tree and draw them in your notebook, or you can draw the bare beeches tree on the columns as they were in Rome at the time. I would like you to read Acts chapter 18, verses 1 to 18. That's where we first heard about Corinth in the Bible, and we're told about Paul leaving Athens to go to Corinth. And then I would like you to fill out your worksheet and write down all the facts and information you have found out about this lesson and what you have learnt from the scripture that you read.